So already we were working with the demo DB like databases. So here, yeah, fine. So yesterday we created a database of full stack DB, right? That is the database we created. You need to know basic commands in order to interact. So I will give you the process in the notes, right? I will give you the process in the notes. So that is Node.js with MySQL database, right? So download and install MySQL Workbench. So log in into terminal, log in into MySQL client, MySQL, login from MySQL client, into server. So here we have, so user is root actually, and some password. So that is the user. Actually server name is so host is localhost. That is the server. Localhost, or it can be 127.0.0.1 IP address, and password some 1 2 3 4 5 something. Password is whatever the password you given while configuring this. So after login, now you need to create a database, create a new database. So database. So you can do it. So you can do it graphically. You can do it from GUI mode or through SQL query. GUI mode, you have a symbol, create new database. You can just click that option, create new database. Or you have SQL query window. In the SQL query window, you have to just write the command and configure the command, right? So you need to just create the database. So by configuring the command, and usually basic, how do we create database? So to create database, so to create a new database, your query will be create and database and database name. So database name some demo DB or some full stack DB. That is the database. That is the query how we need to define. This is for SQL query for creating the database. After creating the database, you need to create table. So once database is created, we need to create the table and create. So use the database. So use the database you created. So to use the database created, so we have to just define the SQL. Use full stack DB. That is the command. We have to use the use command. Use full stack DB. So it starts using that database. These commands are required for our Node.js to interact actually. That is the reason. So next option is create a new table. So to create a table, generally the SQL query will be like this. So create, so we have to use the command create table and the table name. Table name is some TBL products. That is the table name. And we can define the fields. Suppose name, what data type. So varchar. So how many? Some 255 characters. So then we have price. So what is the data type? So decimal. So price is decimal. Decimal like this. So and So decimal, how many? 6 places, that is. And what is another one is suppose we have a manufactured MFD, MFD, and it's is date time. So date time. So that is the data type. That's how we need to create a table. So we need to configure the fields and we have to define the fields and we need to manage the data. So this is we need to create the table. So by using this create table command, or yesterday I showed you, we can directly use the graphical interface for that. So what we have to do, go to the tables in database, right click, and you can say create table. You can say create table. So this create table window will come. So here collapse this button right side, you can see there is an up arrow. So you can collapse and table name. So TBL categories, that is the table name. And column. So column is category ID and it is integer. So and primary key not null. And we have like, so category name, that is varchar, how many characters you can define. And that is the option we defined. So here category name. So this is how graphically you can create. Graphically you can manage and configure the table. So generally when you are creating the tables, so you can use this graphical interface simplifies. And you have to click apply button. Actually that apply button is nothing but it is going to create this logic automatically for you. You can directly write this logic. So that means another example is, so another example, suppose here SQL, another table is, so this is the example. So it will create that. So you can create from the commands, you can configure, you can define directly from the graphical interface also. So we are creating a table. So actually you have to click apply and the table is successfully created. Once table is created, now we need to add records into this table. To add records into the table, actually what we have to do is, so first we need to select. So select star. So from TBL categories. So that is TBL categories. So it is accessing. First we have to use database. Use full stack DB. Full stack DB. We are using the database first. And after that, now we need to execute the command. So select star from TBL categories and execute the command and it executes and you see currently there are no records, empty. The category ID and the category name you need to define. You can add the records. That means you can modify here. So category ID is 1, category name is some electronics, something. Category name is 2, so footwear. And category name is 3, some fashion, something like this. And you click apply and it will generate this command. This is for inserting records into the table. Inserting records into the table. You can add a simple option for inserting record. These commands you need to execute in Node.js if you want to insert. So add records into table. Add records into table, then for that we need to use this command. So insert into table name and what fields and what values we have to configure. These are the basic queries generally we need to know. And if you want to update, you need to delete. You need update queries. So select query is simple. This I will show you now. Select records. So records, so that you can do. selecting records is nothing but I'm just giving a basic overview because our main concentration is working with MongoDB, right? TBL categories. That is how we select the records. Okay, now once we know this basic database is created, table is created, and we have some records into it. Now we will see how to interact with Node.js. That means we need to connecting with MySQL database from Node.js. Once the database is ready, how we can connect with MySQL database from Node.js? What is the basic approach? So for that first step, what you have to do is you have to install MySQL package for your project. So what you have to do is you have to write npm install MySQL. You have to install MySQL package for the project. I already installed MySQL package for the project. So now you have to write a program. So write a Node.js program to connect with MySQL. So let's see how to write a program to connect with MySQL database. After installing the package, now I am showing you one more time. First, we need a MySQL object which will import the MySQL library. By using require, we have to import MySQL library. After importing MySQL library, now we need to create a connection string. So where connection is equal to MySQL dot create connection, it will configure the connection string. And connection string is an object which contains some important properties to connect with the database. MySQL database requires host name. Host name is a local host, or it can be IP address. And next it will ask for username. Username is root. And next it will ask for password. So it will ask for password. So password is 1 2 3 4 5. That is the password for my user. So this is enough to test the connection. Actually, we are just testing the connection. So if you want to communicate with specific database, then we have to define the database name. Database name is some full stack DB. That is the database. First, we need to test the connection. So connection string is defined. So to test the connection, just what we have to do is con dot, so connect. Connect is a method. Actually, connect method is enough. It will connect. But if you want to test, that means it is successful. But sometimes it may fail. So you need to verify, is it successful or failed? Then connection uses a callback function. This callback function will have an error. It will have an error if there is a problem in the connection. So we will write a condition. If not error, if it is not error, then console.log. So we say connected to MySQL. So else, so you have any problem, then console.log. So and report that error message. Error message is there. This is connecting with MySQL. If there is a problem in the password, if there is a problem in database or username, IP address, server is not responding, it will report the errors and display. Now everything is fine. Then it says connected to MySQL. Let's run this and see. We are creating a program here, and let's run this and see. Just for convenience sake, I am running from the command prompt here. So node, so MySQL connection.js, that is the program name, and it should say connected to MySQL. So it successfully connects to MySQL. Now the problem here is, the point here is now how we can get the data. So display the records, insert the records, update the records. Very simple. All these things you have to write through SQL query. Same like how you have done with your general, how you have done with your general MongoDB queries. Here we have to use SQL queries. So this is a program. So this is a program to connect. So example, I will give this program to connect. Some program.js, and this is the program. I will copy this. Yeah. So it is connecting successfully. So this is connected successfully. That's fine. That is how we have to write the program for connecting with the database. Now on the connection, we need to access the data from a table and display the data. On the connection, we have to execute the queries. In MySQL, how we can execute the query, so and get the data from a table and return the data. Actually, so that means now the next option is reading records from MySQL database table. How we can read records from MySQL database table. So for that, actually what you need is the query method of connection object is responsible for querying, executing a query. So in the connection, you need a query method, and so that query method is responsible for executing the query. So MySQL uses all SQL queries. So SQL queries, it uses all the SQL queries. So like it will use select, it will use insert, it will use update, it will use delete. All these select, create, all these queries it will use. So now we have to use those SQL queries and execute the queries. Now let's see. So how do we connect it successfully? This is the program for connection, and how we can read the records. So yeah, I will write a program, read MySQL.js. Okay, read MySQL.js. Yeah. So first require var MySQL is equal to require MySQL. So just for your understanding sake, every time I am creating a new program so that you can have a clarity, right? Then var connection is equal to, so MySQL dot create connection, and host is localhost, and user is root, and password is 12345, and database is full stack DB. That is the database. Now connection, on the connection, so connection, we have to connect, we need to connect function, and this will return an error if there is a problem in connection. So if not error, what to do, we will decide. If there is an error, then report that error. Console.log error is reported, error message. Okay. If there is no problem in the connection, now connection object have to use a query method. Connection object have to use a query method. So this query method uses an SQL query. It uses an SQL query. So here we have to write SQL query like, so select star from table TBL products. That is the SQL query. That means we have a table TBL products, TBL categories. We have to write this SQL query. And now this query can be successful or the query may fail because of some wrong commands and all. Then we have a callback function. This callback function is going to get three details. One is it is going to get error. It is going to get the results. Result is nothing but rows. It is going to get the rows and it is going to get the fields. That means it is going to get the records and the fields. So that means the result of this command will be 3. There might be an error in executing the command if there is problem in the command. If command is successful, then it will return the records in the first place. This is the first place is for error. Second place is for records. Third place is for fields. That means it will get the fields. Fields means columns. What columns are there? It will get the columns and display the columns. So here we need to configure. So the logic is nothing but if not error, if there is no error, so that means there is no error in execution. So, and if there is error, then console.log report that error message. So report that error message, right? Yes. If there is no error, then display the records or you can display the fields. That means here what we can do is console.log access the records and we can display.
से पुटी पुटी लागला परे पुनी खुली ना गाछ टा थिले पुटी लागला परे खाली मसला देबी तापरे ये लागियो.
You can define specific fields to access. You can define all the fields to access. You can configure anything how you want. You can also access the fields and you can display the fields. What are the fields available? What columns are available? For example, see here. So suppose now records have to return the records. So let's run this and see now. This is the program. So for connecting with MySQL, reading the data from table and presenting it. Let's run this and see now. So node, this is read mysql.js. That is the program. And enter, you can see it returns that record. That means it returns an array. It is in a JSON form. And the product ID, product name, details, and these details. Actually, it is displaying how it is stored in the memory. When we are reading and displaying, so we can display in our own style. So that means date can be formatted. Displaying means in the UI, we can display in our own style. This is how it is in the data. So this is returning the records. You can return the fields. So you can write here fields. So fields, we can write here fields. When we write fields, you can return both of them. So when I write fields here now, so you can see when I run the command again, this time you can see it returns all the details here, field packet. And in that it is showing to display all the details like database name, table name, and the field name is product ID. So, and what is the length? 11 characters. So, and you can see so many details it will display. And second one is name. Third one is price. Fourth one is some manufacturer. So it will return all the details about the fields. Every field related detail you can access and display. And you see this is an array actually. This is an array. So, and array of objects. You can access any specific field details. So we can access any specific field name and display. That means just what you can do is here you can write console.log. Fields is an array. Fields is an array. So suppose I said, suppose one dot name. We are accessing the field name. That means when I execute this command, when you know that it is returning an array, so you can manage its functionality. So here you can see now. So when I run this, it is getting that name field and display. That means it will get only the field name and it will display the field name. So you can write a looping statement, and through the looping statement, you can get all the field names only and display. Because once you know it is an array, you know how to manipulate the arrays. So you can display them. So this is a basic logic. Suppose I want records, then we will use records. So this is accessing the data from MySQL database. So it is accessing data from MySQL database and displaying. You can write the query how you want. Suppose it is returning all the records. Suppose what I am doing now, I will copy this. I will keep this as an example. Okay, this is the program. This is the program. If you want any specific, generally you have to change your SQL query. So you can say, I don't want all. I want name and I want price. So that means select only name and price, and from that and display. You can define only what you want. You can configure and define, right? So generally here the option how we can manage. So inserting of records, right? This you can manage. So the configuration of the values here. So I will compile and run this now here. So that is, we are not displaying all the records. We are just displaying only these two. That means it will display only the name and price details. It will not get all the information. So that's your wish. You can write the queries, you can configure the queries so that you can manage. So by handling this operation. So you have to just configure the queries, define the queries. So this is generally how we can read the records from MySQL and handle this. And this is another example. So that means read specific fields, right? And you need to use all these commands for handling the communication. So yeah. Actually, these details are all written in an array form. That means by default, they are returning in a JSON format, JavaScript object notation. It is returning in a JSON format. So it is easy for us to communicate with the data and pull the data and use the data in our application. So writing the queries, and working with the queries. Similarly, we have to use insert commands, update commands, and delete commands. That means just what we have to do is we have to change the commands and configure the command here. You can insert records, you can update records, you can delete records. Suppose if you want to insert record, then generally you have to use the command. So for inserting, I will just give the command. You can run those commands inside that entire query. Rest of logic you can write. Now every time this logic is same, only this query will be changing. For inserting, how you insert. So for insert, I will give the query, insert query. So insert query is nothing but we have to use insert. So into table, TBL products, and the field names, we have to define the field names. That means name, and we need to define the price, and suppose there is some product ID like this. So product ID, so name and price, something. And you have to define values. And what are the values? So capitalization doesn't matter. I am just giving reasonable. So what values you want to insert, we need to configure. So that means I need to insert one as product ID, name as mobile, and price, some price value. That is how we need to insert the record. So this is the query you need to configure for inserting the record. You can insert multiple also. You can insert multiple. So you can insert multiple records also. You can configure multiple records. But for multiple records, what we have to do is, first we have to write the query. We need to configure the query and define the query. So, and use it. Actually, insert multiple, I will show you. Little different actually. Insert multiple records, right? These all you can try now, because already I given you the select commands. To insert multiple records, so what you have to do is, so first you have to, you can separately maintain your record. So where, so here we have some values is equal to array. First, you need to maintain all your values. So it should contain, remember, it's not array of objects, because these are collection of values. So they don't contain key and value, only values. They are not keys, only values. In that case, you have to create actually array of arrays actually. That means because it is a collection of values, not key and value. So we are using collection of values. That means here we have to say 2, and here we say suppose some shoe. So shoe, and some price. So that is the price. And the second, another array. This is 3. This is shirt and the price. So another price. So that is price. This is how we need to define multiple values. So not array of objects. We have to configure like this. We have to put our values separately. Then we have to write the query. How do we configure the query? Generally, how do we define the query and use the query? So we need to create an SQL query also. We need to create an SQL query. SQL query is insert into, so table, TBL products, and fields. Fields are product ID and name and price like this. And values, you have to keep question mark. Question mark indicates query string. Query string means, so you are not defining the values, you are bringing the values from an object and you are attaching it. If you are separately writing the values, bringing them and attaching them, then you have to use a query string, question mark you have to use. Now we have to write the query. So how do we write the query? Simple. Connection object dot query. Here it is expecting query. Query is in SQL, and the values is an array. We have to pass those values like this. So we have to pass the values. This is how we need to define. And we need a function. This function will have a error object. It will have records object. It will have fields object. Actually, this will not return the records. It will just return a result actually. So this is how we need to execute the query to insert multiple records. If you want to insert multiple records, you need to define that. So same we need to use for queries, filtering queries, ordering queries. All these queries are simple. Suppose you want to filter. So you want to filter. Filter means filter. So filter means how do we write the query. Suppose I want the product, so whose name is shoe. Then simply that how do we do. So we need to write the query, select, so from TBL products where, so name is equal to some shoe, like this. So you can configure the filtering queries. You can configure all these operations. That means already I showed you in MongoDB how we use the queries name starting with specific. So name is having the specific. How you handle that? All you can use the like operators and all these options we can configure. So filtering same, updating is same, and deleting also same, but here we use commands, SQL commands. That means if I want to update any specific record, then generally update command. Already I given you in MongoDB, I given both commands, JavaScript command and SQL command. Both commands I given you. One more time, I'm just giving you here. So generally update command, how do we define? So update TBL products. So set. So we want to set some price is equal to some value. Some price is equal to value. So where some product ID is equal to something like this. So that is the update queries, how you configure. I given these queries already. So in the MongoDB related options. And similarly, we have delete query. Delete query is nothing but delete from TBL products, and where, so product ID is equal to 1, something like this. This is all the queries that you have to use. So, but our main concentration is working with MongoDB, right? But I just given you a simple overview of how we can use Node.js to connect with MySQL and work with MySQL. So the same you have to do with databases like Oracle and SQL Server, because generally if you are learning Java, so you are learning .NET, so like technologies, mostly Java people use Oracle as database, and .NET people use MySQL Server as database. So in that case, the connection strings, the configurations, all these will change. The drivers, connecting with them, configuring with them. So this all will change. So what I will do is, if you belong to different technologies, I will just upload the package names and the commands. So for Oracle, for SQL Server, how to connect from Node.js, some commands and the package names. By using that, you can do that, right? So because we cannot learn all databases here, we will concentrate on only one specific database, right? So for that, you need separate pack. Suppose you have databases like SQL Server, so like Oracle. So then all the points are similar, only the package that you need will change. Actually, for suppose you are using SQL Server database. For SQL Server database, you have to install the package like you have installed the package npm install so MS SQL, Microsoft SQL. So MySQL and MS SQL both are different. MS SQL is for connecting with MS SQL is connecting with SQL Server. right? SQL Server. So now the point, sometimes you may ask questions, sir, how do I get connection string? Because already I showed you connection strings. How do you know the package names? Actually, package names you have to know from the official NPM website. We have an official NPM website. So npmjs.org. This is the Node Package Manager official website. In this website, you can search for which package you are looking for. That means I am looking for Node Oracle package. That means I am looking for Node Oracle package. And you can see a Node.js module for Oracle database access. And it will get the package name, and click that, and it will show the information about the package. That means how to install. npm, right side you can see install command will be there. So npm install Oracle DB. And how do we connect? They will give you examples also. Because every company may not be using the same database. Different databases will be there. And if you go to these examples, so they will give you the option how we can connect with the Oracle database. So they will give you the connection, how to connect with Oracle database. So configuring the database, how we can configure the connection, how we can insert, how we can update, how we can delete. All the commands example they will give you here. So this is the best site because this is the official site of Node.js package manager. So you will get all information perfectly. If there are any problems, any issues, version wise, any problems, everything will be displayed here. So that means all the issues, because for a developer, he need to know correctly everything working fine or not, right? So this is the official source from where you can get the package names, and you can get information about how to deal with them. So while working with the UI, we will see how do we manage. So with our MongoDB and MySQL database, I will use these two both for your referencing. So we have learned two options now. How we can connect with MongoDB, how we can connect with MySQL, how we can connect with the databases and interact with them. But remember, still everything is happening in the server side only. Now this data we need to send. We need to send this data. We need to send this data to the client. That means currently what is happening in our architecture is, so in our architecture, so I will show you. So basically the architecture, what we have done, yeah. So web architecture, so that is the basic web architecture. Yeah. So this is the basic web architecture. This is the basic web architecture. In this web architecture, we have done with two things. So that means now database. So database is ready. That means we have done with two things here. So the database is ready. So you see the database part is ready, and we created here a business layer, a communicating with the database. This part we have finished. Now this data need to be sent to client. So here we need to handle accessing the resources, creating a UI from where user can interact. That means we need the help of a middleware. This middleware is responsible for sending this data to the client, so that client can use his JavaScript, jQuery, or any client-side technology to access the data and use the data. So we have seen. So UI part we finished. That means we have learned how to create the UI. We have learned how to manage the communication with the database. Now we need to connect these two parts. That means we need one more, a middleware. We need to learn how to create a service, how to create an API that can connect with the client and send the data to the client, bring the data from the client and handle communication. For that, we need a middleware. We need to configure the middlewares. We need to understand how to use these middlewares. Then the entire process can be implemented as one project. One example we can try for that. So what is middleware? How middleware is used with Node.js. So Node.js is not finished. In Node.js, now we are learning how to create APIs, services, and how do we handle communication using the middleware. We will use the middleware called Express. By using Express middleware, we handle the communication. So that we will see next session, right? So if you can finish this middleware part, then we can start building an end-to-end project. We will start building an end-to-end application, communication, full stack completely, right? So tomorrow we will see how we can create APIs, services by using these middlewares, right?